What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Well, just saw this news breaking. I think it was last week. I think it was. Remember the 60 Minutes interview that Kamala Harris did, where an interviewer actually challenged her? And he didn't really go hard in the paint. I mean, kudos to the 60 Minutes interviewer who actually, asked her some somewhat tough questions, and was trying hard to get her to actually answer his questions rather than talk in that gobbledygook and that word salad that she tosses up all the time when she's trying to go on some, in her mind, an intelligent soliloquy, and to get her to actually answer the questions when she tries to steer it to something she wants to talk about. Anyway, remember that Disastrous interview? And remember how they were caught taking an answer or a portion of an answer that she gave for a totally different question and using that answer to replace a nonsensical word salad answer that she had given for that particular question. Remember that was caught? Well, now 60 Minutes, which of course is a program that airs on CBS. CBS and 60 Minutes refuse to put out the transcript for that interview. You know how sometimes when you're maybe, let's say, you want to look at a YouTube video, but maybe you are listening to something else, maybe listening to music or something, and you can't quite do both at the same time. So maybe you know how sometimes you press the option of transcript and you actually get to read what is being said. Well, usually when these people give interviews, whether it's MSNBC, usually 60 Minutes, CNN, you have the option of reading the transcripts. Well, to see what was said, unedited. They refuse to do it. Now, I don't know whether that's at the request of the Harris campaign team. Don't release the transcripts, but that's something that's not normally done. So this is, once again, more evidence to strongly suggest that Kamala Harris is an empty suit who cannot articulate her way out of a wet, thin, partially torn paper bag. This is sad. And it's not bullying. I heard somebody say last week, oh, that poor interview was bullying Kamala. I'm so sorry that you guys were raised so coddled and entitled, but the world don't hand out merit badges and okay, you're super badges for every breath that you take. Okay, you think just because you fart, you deserve some type of certificate of achievement for that. She's seeking the presidency of the United States, okay? You don't just get handed that job because you're a woman. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. She has to earn that. As much as Barack Obama's been pissing me off lately, one thing I'll say about him, he earned that nomination. He fought against the Clinton machine in all 50 states and the territories that held primaries. He went against that machine. People actually voted for him during that primary process. Then he went against the war hero and the popular politician that was John McCain, and he beat him. He won that nomination, and then subsequently the election fair and square. She's been given everything. This is a woman that didn't even make it to the 2020 primary. She dropped out in 2019 because her campaign was going nowhere. I think on the ballot in California, her home state, even though her campaign had already ended, I think in her own home state, she only got 8% of the vote. Then, because the Democratic Party felt like they owed a certain constituent of the party, a token, they appointed her the VP. And now, because Democrats are running scared, or were running scared, because they felt like Joe Biden would have been clobbered by Trump, they made him quit, even though he didn't want to. They made him quit because they said, well, we're going to stop donating to your campaign. We're going to stop donating if you don't drop out. And then they didn't have any other option, so they were forced to go with Kamala. And they have to run the most heavily controlled, and I'm sorry, I don't like using this term really all the time, but the most heavily controlled, and I'm sorry, rigged campaign and operation I've ever seen in my life. Look, Trump says stupid shit all the time, and Trump always says something that leaves you like, huh? But I never remember MSNBC, definitely CNN or Fox News. They never edited his interview, at least from my knowledge. They run his transcripts. For them not to actually have the transcripts is damning. What moronic answer did she give that they're trying to hide? And this ain't some isolated incident where, it'd be making a mountain out of a molehill. This is a further evidence parsley on the shit salad that has been her substance when it comes to this campaign. Don't get me wrong, Trump is not of substance either, in my opinion. He's not, for the most part. But she's been ducking the smoke ever since she got this nomination. For the first month, she refused to do any interviews. Then, once she did start finally doing interviews, they were always tightly controlled interviews where her team knew the questions in advance. And she still didn't knock it out of the park. Remember that interview she did years ago with Lester Holt? That Disastrous interview where he was asking her the most softball, basic, entry-level politician questions, and she couldn't, and she still flunked it. Then that debate where the moderators were in on it, in my opinion. One of the moderators is in the same fraternity as Kamala Harris. The person who's running the news, what's what I'm looking for? The person that's running the news agency or the news section, department, I guess is the right word. The person that's running the news department of ABC is friends with Kamala Harris, friends with her husband. Matter of fact, I think I read that she interviewed she introduced, her husband, Doug Emhoff, to Kamala. By the way, why doesn't Kamala call herself Kamala Emhoff? I mean, I'm not saying that she has to do that, but why does she even, shouldn't she be at least Kamala Harris Emhoff? I don't get that. Why does she still go by Kamala Harris? Anyway, so every time she's in these situations, she has to have things manipulated to hide her deficiencies. And at the end of the day, this is horrible. This is manipulative. It's deceitful. And why won't they, not even just the transcript, why don't 60 Minutes release the full interview? But people, if you bring this up, you're a Trump supporter or you only hate her because she's a woman. I'm so tired of that, man. I'm so tired of these people, man. The unedited portions. There's certain unedited portions of the interview where Kamala sounds like an imbecile. I'm sorry, but this interview was deliberately altered to make her look coherent. And I think the reason why they're doing that, obviously, is because if they put out the actual real interview, it may cost her the election, or it may cause her to lose by an even larger margin than she might ultimately lose. I don't know. This election is a toss-up in my mind. I don't know who's going to win. Really, I don't think we win with either one of these choices. But, at the end of the day, I don't know, man. I'm just, this has been the worst. To me, this is the worst election cycle I've ever seen. The choices that we have. And then another thing you gotta ask yourself too, how is it, and she has a history of this, how is it that she's coming to these interviews completely unprepared? How the fuck are you running for president? It's a testament to her incompetence. How are you coming to these interviews apparently completely unprepared for the answers, the questions that are coming? But then there's a history of this. There's a pattern. All the time, look back when she ran for president back in 2019, when her campaign director, if I remember correctly, rage quit because of the disorganization and the incompetence of the campaign. Then you read about all these staffers that she's had who are doing all this work for her, all this preparing for her, all these memos that she doesn't read. And now I truly believe that, because you can see just how unprepared she's constantly tends to be. But and I can only allude to that on YouTube. I can only allude to this point. When you have a history of only attaining positions, not based upon your merit, but based more upon other skills, other jobs that you're giving, I guess she's not blowing those jobs. When you attain positions based on that, this is what happens. This is what happens. We have an incompetent. I mean, look at what happened the other day when her apparently in what was it? I think she was in Flint, Michigan, when her teleprompter went out, and she was lost. She didn't know what to say. Look, I'm not the greatest at ad-libbing. I'm not the greatest at talking. You probably could tell sometimes I have a bit of a stammer. But hell, I think I would do a lot better than her if I had to talk speak off the top of my head. She couldn't even do that. And she's running for president of the United States, the most important job in the free world with vast responsibilities. And she can't even give, basic answers on her administration's foreign policy. I'm telling you, I get the impression that she is, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful saying this, but I think she's almost being viewed by the people who really are going to run the government if she's elected for the next 4 years. I think the people who are really going to be running things, who are probably going to be in her cabinet or the shadow cabinet, she's like a useful idiot. I'm not saying that she's a dumb person. She's not. You can't be where she is and a successful prosecutor if she's dumb. She's not. But I don't think she's a great politician. I think she's a very ambitious person, but I don't think she's a very great or gifted politician. She's not good on the stump. She's not a great orator. She's not a great strategist. Only thing I could really see is that she's a pretty good looking woman who was probably good at backstabbing others to get up the totem pole, and you can get far doing that. You can, you know, you could backstab people to climb up the totem pole, and you can also climb up a pole or climb on a pole to get higher. But right now, this is the real deal, and she's being exposed. No matter how much they try to hide it, she's being exposed. That skirt has risen up, and we're starting to see some things we don't want to see. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.